Right. So I want you to just imagine for a second that you are standing in the absolute suffocating filth of 1923.
Oh, lovely start. Very uplifting.
No, seriously, you have to really put yourself there. There's no modern tech, obviously. There is absolutely no CGI. You are lucky if you have a reliable light bulb in your house at this point.
Yeah, true enough.
And right in the middle of this grime, some absolute madman of a director decides he's going to film a massive, chaotic riot.
Right.
But he doesn't do what everyone else was doing at the time, right? He doesn't just bolt a camera to a tripod and tell a crowd of extras to just wave their arms about in front of it.
Which would have been the sensible thing to do.
But boring. Instead, he uses this bizarre, completely unhinged physical trick. He mounts the actual camera on a carousel.
A merry-go-round.
Exactly, a carousel. He builds a bespoke set of tracks. He manipulates the physical shadows of the actors. And, I mean, on paper, it is a recipe for an absolute visual disaster, yet it created what is arguably the foundation for modern visual storytelling. I was reading about this and I was just absolutely floored. It is properly genius.
Are you joking?
No, I'm entirely serious.
You cannot be serious right now. You're romanticizing what was essentially a desperate circus trick made.
It's not a circus trick, it's...
Here is the rub, right? Mm-hmm. If this is supposedly the bedrock of modern visual storytelling, the absolute peak of cinematic innovation, why has practically nobody today actually heard of it?
Because history forgets things.
Or because it's a lost masterpiece only to you. Is it really a masterpiece, or is it just a massive, completely accidental fluke by a bunch of people who were essentially playing around in the dark with highly flammable celluloid?
It is not a fluke. Look, when I started looking at the material for today, specifically this history book we're exploring.
Cinema, the magic vehicle, a comprehensive guide. Journey 1, 1913 to 1950.
I'll be totally honest with you listening right now. I went in expecting a chore.
Yeah, me too.
It sounded like a dry, dusty, irrelevant history lesson about people walking fast to piano music. But I came out completely gobsmacked. The sheer audacity of these early filmmakers...
Wait, hold on a second. Before you launch into one of your massive, sweeping declarations about human innovation, let's look at the reality of this.
Yeah.
Because I know you want to talk about Buster Keaton's 1926 film, The General.
I absolutely do, yes.
But we have to interrogate the actual claims being made here. Because I read the exact same book you did, and I completely disagree with this assessment.
How can you disagree? It's right there in the text.
Because you want to frame these films as profound philosophical treatises. But from where I am sitting, half of this era is just a historical shambles that film academics have retroactively decided is genius. Yes. It's literally just people falling over and praying the camera lens was actually open. And to you listening, I'll warn you now, we aren't here for a tidy academic lecture today.
No, definitely not.
We are going to interrogate whether these people were artists or just incredibly lucky.
That is such an incredibly cynical way to look at it. You have to understand the world before these films came out.
I do understand it.
The source text paints this picture brilliantly, and it is vital context for you listening at home to really grasp. We are talking about Europe in 1923.
Very grim.
It's an era defined by absolute grit. You have the traumatic hangover in the First World War.
Right.
You have widespread hunger. You have thick industrial smog choking the cities. And as I said earlier, a massive lack of reliable electricity. People are miserable. They were broken.
Exactly my point. It was an era of utter deprivation. Cinema wasn't high art back then, mate.
It was becoming high art.
It wasn't the Louvre. It was a circus tent. It was a cheap, loud distraction for the unwashed masses. You are trying to elevate a bloke on a merry-go-round with a hand-cranked camera into high art.
Because it is.
It was literally just a distraction from the fact that people didn't have enough coal to heat their flats.
Nonsense. That is absolute nonsense. Yes, they were desperate, but they were desperate for an emotional escape that the newspapers absolutely could not give them.
Well, the papers were fairly depressing, yeah.
Exactly. What were the papers printing in 1923? Death tolls, economic ruin, political collapse. People were looking for a completely new way to feel something.
So they went to a smoky tent.
The limitations of the era, the lack of sound, the lack of color, the lack of digital effects, that wasn't a prison. That was a playground. It forced these directors to invent a completely new visual language from scratch just to communicate with the audience.
A playground. That's rubbish, mate. It was a cage.
How is it a cage?
They didn't invent these tricks because they were inspired artists having a brilliant vision. They invented things because they had literally no other option. It was pure desperation, not inspiration.
Desperation breeds innovation.
Let's look at your beloved 1923 example, the wheel. You are focusing entirely on the technical grandeur.
I am focusing on it because it is a proper masterpiece of engineering and emotion. Hear me out on this.
Go on, then.
Let's actually look at the mechanics of this technical wizardry the source describes. The director needs to film a riot, right?
Yeah.
He needs you to feel the dizzying, terrifying momentum of a crowd losing its collective mind. So he puts the camera on a carousel.
Which sounds completely mental.
Think about the physics of that for a second. You have centrifugal force pulling the viewer in circles, creating literal vertigo.
Making people sick, more like.
He puts it on tracks, moving it relentlessly forward. He uses the hard, blinding lights and the deep shadows of the actors to create this immense, looming sense of dread. And then, and this is where it gets properly genius, the part that actually blew my mind, the editing.
Oh, here we go with the scissors.
No, listen to the mechanism of this. The source text highlights this specifically. The rapid-fire cuts were not just a fancy, modern-feeling edit.
They were choppy.
It wasn't just a director saying, oh, let's chop it up to make it look fast. It was a deliberate, biologically calculated design to make the human brain, to make your actual physical heart, mimic the rhythm of a steam engine.
That is...
Chug, 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 frame, 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 faster, 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 until the psychological tension is completely unbearable. That is manipulation of the highest order. They were treating the celluloid like a physical extension of industrial machinery.
That is a massive, towering overstatement.
It's right in the text.
Make the human heart mimic a steam engine. Are you hearing yourself? That's mental.
It's visceral.
You are taking a director who probably just looked at his daily rushes, realized his long static takes were incredibly boring, and literally chopped them up with a razor blade to keep the audience awake.
Oh, come off it.
And you are calling it psychological manipulation. It's a fluke. It's a desperate attempt to create pace in a medium that was inherently silent and static.
You cannot be serious. You honestly think perfectly timed, rhythmic editing that intentionally mimics the mechanical heartbeat of the industrial age is just a guy playing with a razor blade by accident.
I think when you are playing around with a dangerous new toy in a smoky tent, sometimes you accidentally do a backflip.
A backflip. Right.
It doesn't make you an Olympic gymnast, does it? It makes you lucky. And look at the actual plot of the wheel.
The plot is fantastic.
You are completely ignoring what the film is actually about in favor of the camera tricks.
The plot is brilliant. The source lays out this incredible moral trap. It is a core conflict of guilt, lust, and power.
Very original.
It is a profound, incredibly dark scenario. I mean, think about it. Think about the riddle of this film. Put yourself in the protagonist's shoes.
I'd rather not.
Surrounded by this oppressive industrial machinery, trapped between a rigid sense of duty and absolute consuming desire, knowing that any choice you make is going to irrevocably destroy someone's life.
Oh, it's so dreary.
I mean, ask yourself, you listening to this, would you stay quiet? Could you bear the weight of that guilt? It's riveting human drama.
It is rather dull, actually.
Dull.
Yes. It is cheap melodrama, dressed up as a philosophical riddle. Guilt, lust, power. That's every penny dreadful ever printed on cheap paper.
It's elevated by the medium.
They just took a standard exhausted soap opera plot and put it near some trains so they could play with the lighting. There was no profound moral trap there.
You're completely missing the subtext.
It is just emotional manipulation to keep the punters in their seats. You're projecting 21st century cinematic theory onto a film that was just trying to sell tickets to people trying to get out of the rain.
You are completely dismissing the emotional resonance of the steam engine motif. The rhythm of the editing, the unstoppable force of the machinery, it perfectly mirrors the unstoppable destructive nature of the character's lust and guilt.
If you say so.
The machine and the human flaw are the exact same thing. It is a unified piece of art.
Right.
But fine. If you want to dismiss the rhythm of the steam engine in 1923 France, let's look at the most famous steam engine in the entire history of cinema.
I had a feeling we were hitting here.
Let's jump to 1926. Let's look at America. Let's look at Buster Keaton.
Ah, yes. The general. The supposed crown jewel of this entire historical roadmap we're looking at.
It is the crown jewel. I was completely gobsmacked reading the production details of this in the text.
It's certainly big, I'll give you that.
Just look at the sheer, unadulterated scale of what Keaton and his co-producer Joseph M. Schenck pulled off here. We're talking about a film shot in 1926.
Yeah.
They shot 2,285 meters of film. Do you understand the physical weight of that?
It just means they had a massive budget and wasted a lot of it.
It means they were building an absolute epic. 2,285 meters of highly combustible heavy nitrate celluloid.
Which is incredibly dangerous, by the way.
It's a logistical nightmare just to transport it, let alone edit it. And the collaboration involved you have Buster Keaton and Clyde Bruckman on the script.
Right.
The story by Al Boasberg and Charles Henry Smith. This was a massive, highly coordinated mechanical operation to pull this off.
Listing a bunch of dead blokes doesn't make the film a masterpiece, mate. It just proves they had a crew.
It proves the staggering ambition. And the cast. Marion Mack as Annabelle Lee, Jen Thatcher, Captain Anderson. They weren't just throwing people in front of a lens.
They were actors, yes. That is how films work.
This wasn't just a couple of guys in a back alley with a camera. They went out and shot it among the splendid vistas of Oregon.
Which are very pretty.
They didn't use some cheap studio backlot. They went out into the real, rugged world. And the text points out the look of it, the authentic daguerreotype level realism.
Daguerreotype realism.
Right. Yes. For anyone who doesn't know, a daguerreotype is that incredibly early, mid-1800s style of photography.
Very old-fashioned.
It has this sharp, hauntingly still, silver-tinted clarity to it. It looks like a ghost captured on metal.
Okay, very poetic.
Keaton deliberately mirrored that aesthetic to make you feel like you were actually looking through a window into the American Civil War. The visual texture alone is genius.
Hold on a second. Stop right there. Just stop.
What now?
You are getting completely swept away by the Oregon vistas and the silver-tinted aesthetic.
Because it's brilliant.
You are entirely ignoring the massive, glowing, completely dodgy problem right in the middle of this entire production.
There is no dodgy problem.
Look at the source text again. Look at where the story actually came from.
It came from the autobiography The Great Locomotive Chase by William Pittenger.
Spot on. And what does the source text explicitly tell us about that real historical event?
Well, it talks about the soldiers.
The real heroes of that event during the American Civil War were Union soldiers. Northern soldiers.
I know that.
They infiltrated the South. They took the locomotive from Georgia to disrupt the Confederate supply lines. And what happened to them?
Things didn't go well.
They were caught, and they were hanged by the Confederates. They were executed for their bravery, except for Pittenger, who lived to write the book. That is the actual brutal history.
Yes, the text acknowledges that.
Acknowledges that. It completely indicts Keaton. Keaton takes this true story of Union soldiers being executed, and he decides to completely flip it.
For narrative purposes.
He reverses the emotional direction of the source material. He makes the Confederates, the Army, actively fighting to preserve slavery, the good guys.
It's a structural necessity.
He turns the people who hanged the real heroes into the plucky, relatable underdogs, just so his protagonist can do some physical comedy on a train roof.
That is entirely unfair.
You can't be serious. You cannot sit there and tell me that turning the bad guys into heroes for a laugh is an act of genius. It's a historical shambles. It is deeply, deeply dodgy.
Wait. You are looking at it purely as a modern historian with a magnifying glass, and you are entirely missing the underlying mechanics of comedy.
I am looking at it as someone who thinks whitewashing a historical execution for a gag is bloody dodgy.
But the text explains the mechanism behind the choice. He reversed the emotional direction, yes, but he did it to make two structural changes. And the second change is the crucial one.
Oh, let's hear this excuse.
His protagonist, Johnny Gray, acts alone against all odds.
And that somehow justifies making him a Confederate.
Mechanically, yes. Hear me out.
I'm listening, but I'm not buying it.
For the comedy to work, for the very structure of the film to function, Johnny Gray has to be the ordinary little man fighting an overwhelming, massive force. He has to be the underdog.
So he joins the literal Confederacy.
Think about it. If he's a Union soldier stealing a Confederate train, as it happened in history, he's backed by the entire invading Northern Army. He isn't an isolated underdog. He's part of a vanguard.
He's still behind enemy lines.
But by flipping it, by making him a lone Southerner trying to get his stolen train back from the massive invading Northern Army, Keaton isolates him entirely. He forces Johnny to fight alone against absolute multitudes of enemies.
This is such a stretch.
The source text literally points this out. This choice immediately identifies Keaton as the director. It is the ultimate auteur move. He reshaped reality to serve the structural perfection of the comedy.
Oh, that is a brilliant defense. He didn't mean to lionize the Confederacy. He just needed the structural perfection of making them look good so he could fall over a log in isolation.
That is literally what the book argues.
That is absolute rubbish. It is decadent.
It's decadent.
Yes. And speaking of decadence, if you want to talk about structural perfection and individualism, let's look at the incredibly jarring political contrast the source material brings up right in the middle of this analysis.
Okay, I know where you're going with this.
Let's look at how the Soviet Union viewed this exact kind of filmmaking.
Ah, yes. The pivot to socialist realism. And before we dive into this, let's be crystal clear for you listening. I need to pause here for a second because we have to be absolutely clear.
Go on.
We are looking at this purely as a historical artifact. We are neutrally reporting the political context exactly as it is presented in this source text.
Absolutely.
We are not taking sides. We are not endorsing capitalism. We are not endorsing communism. We are merely analyzing the competing, contrasting artistic philosophies of the 1920s that the book lays out.
Spot on. We're just reading the historical map provided.
Right.
And the map says this. In the Soviet Union and other communist countries at this time, socialist realism was the only officially approved style of art.
Yes, very strictly enforced.
Its entire stated aim was promoting the goals of communism.
Right, and the text notes that the Communist Party completely rejected avant-garde styles like Impressionism and Cubism.
Threw them out entirely.
They labeled them as decadent bourgeois art. The decree was absolute, really. Art must depict and glorify the proletariat's collective struggle towards socialism.
And if you strayed from that official line, the text is blunt. Artists who strayed from the official line were punished.
Indeed.
Now, keeping that neutral historical context in mind, let's use it to look at your mate, Buster Keaton in The General.
Oh, here we go.
Because if you view the film through that contemporary 1920s critical lens, The General is the absolute textbook definition of decadent bourgeois art.
Are you joking? How?
Because it is.
Johnny Gray is a train driver. He operates a steam engine. He literally works with his hands covered in soot. He is the definition of the proletariat.
Rubbish. Look at his motivations.
Yeah.
Look at why he is doing what he's doing.
He's trying to save what he loves.
He isn't fighting for the collective good. He isn't fighting to elevate his fellow working man. He is a single, utterly selfish, middle-class guy who is entirely obsessed with his personal property.
Hits a train.
He spends 2,285 meters of film fighting multitudes of people, risking lives, destroying critical infrastructure, all to get his personal steam engine back and to get his girlfriend back.
Which makes him a romantic hero.
The text says it clearly, mate. He is in pursuit of the two loves of his life, the steam engine and the young woman. It is the ultimate hyper-capitalist fantasy.
Capitalist fantasy. That is absurd.
It completely ignores the collective good in favor of sheer, unadulterated individualism.
You are entirely missing the point. You are projecting Soviet state policy onto a slapstick comedy to try and tear down its mechanics.
I'm using the book's own context against you.
The brilliance of Johnny Gray, the reason he is a masterpiece of a character that resonates with people to this day, it's precisely because of his individualism.
Because people are selfish.
No, he isn't a mindless drone in a collective machine. He is a modest, ordinary man fighting for his own tiny slice of happiness in a world tearing itself apart.
By destroying a bridge and capturing generals. That's not a tiny slice of happiness, that's domestic terrorism.
Because he is thrust into an insane situation. Look at how he starts out. The text points this out beautifully.
I'm looking.
He tries to do the collective thing. He tries to join the military.
Oh, what a hero.
But he is turned down for military service because he is deemed more useful driving his train. And what is his reward for that?
He gets to stay home.
He is mistakenly branded a coward by his community. He is rejected by his beloved Annabelle Lee. Society completely abandons him. The collective fails him utterly.
So his logical response is to wage a one-man war.
His response is to bravely resist giant machines all on his own. He doesn't let the societal rejection break his spirit.
He's completely unhinged.
The text compares him to Chaplin in the Gold Rush. Right?
Yes, the source brings up Chaplin.
But notes, Keaton's manner is completely different. With Chaplin, you get all this pathos, this pleading for sympathy.
Chaplin wanted you to cry for him.
Exactly. The text also compares him to Harold Lloyd, the third famous American comic of silent burlesque. Harold Lloyd was all about that conventional middle-class striving.
Wanting to be successful, yeah.
But the text argues that the enterprises of Lloyd's heroes seem absolutely paltry in comparison to what Johnny Gray achieves.
Because Gray acts like a maniac.
Gray might be terrified, but it doesn't inhibit his actions. He is too deeply involved in overcoming the immediate physical obstacles in front of him to feel sorry for himself. That is the genius of it.
Genius, right?
It's not about bourgeois decadence. It's about absolute human resilience in the face of impossible odds.
Human resilience, it's a slapstick shambles.
It's beautifully constructed.
You keep talking about this film as if it's a perfectly engineered machine where every single gear perfectly turns the next.
Because it is.
Let's look at the actual mechanics of this so-called perfect comedy. Let's look at the obstacle course you find so deeply resilient.
It is structurally symmetrical. It is a masterpiece of a rail chase.
Symmetrical.
Yes. The chase is the central theme, and Keaton uses it as an absolutely inexhaustible source of comic situations. Just follow the plot as the text lays it out. It is relentlessly logical in its escalation.
Logical. Okay, let's trace this supposed logic, shall we?
Right. He departs in pursuit of his stolen engine. Annabelle is on it by coincidence.
A massive coincidence, but fine.
He doesn't have a train, so what does he do? He uses a hand trolley.
Okay.
Think about the physical exhaustion of pumping a hand trolley to chase a steam engine.
Exhausting, sure.
Then, when that fails, he uses a bicycle. It is a perfect, desperate escalation of physical kinetic energy.
A bicycle chasing a train.
Yeah.
So logical.
Then, he commandeers what he thinks is just a spare engine, entirely not realizing it hasn't been connected to a troop train yet. He just continues alone, completely undaunted by the danger.
Right. Hand trolleys and bicycles. Very grounded, very logical escalation.
It is.
And then what happens when he gets to Chattanooga?
He infiltrates the Unionist headquarters, he frees Annabelle, and he overhears the secret enemy plans.
Oh, he overhears secret enemy plans. How incredibly convenient.
It's a plot device.
He just happens to be standing in the exact right spot at the exact right time behind the exact right door to overhear the general's master plan for the entire war.
That's how stories work.
That isn't precise dramatic construction made.
Yeah.
That is incredibly lazy writing. That is a massive contrivance to push the plot forward because they painted themselves into a narrative corner and didn't know how to get him back on the train.
It is a necessity of the genre. You have to move the pieces on the board.
By cheating.
But look at what he does with that information. He regains his engine. He races back to the Confederate camp to warn them that General Parker's forces are attacking. And the climax.
Oh, the climax. Let's talk about the climax.
Think about the sheer scale of this dag. During their escape, Johnny and Annabelle set fire to a bridge on the Rock River.
Right.
The bridge collapses under the weight of the train carrying the Northern troops. A real, full-size steam engine crashing into a river. The audacity of filming that.
You're calling it a gag. It's a massive military catastrophe played for laughs.
It's spectacular.
And the other gags that text praises, let's talk about those. It talks about a sword flying out of a scabbard to impale an enemy sniper.
Classic physical comedy.
Let's really picture that. A sniper's about to shoot him, and a sword just magically flies through the air and stabs the guy.
It's timing.
That is mental. It is literal cartoon physics.
Yeah.
You cannot call a film a masterpiece of precise dramatic construction when its major plot resolutions rely on extreme coincidence, magical flying swords, and people being in the right room at the right time.
It is physical comedy. It operates on a heightened physical reality.
It operates on blind luck. And the source material even admits that Keaton wasn't some infallible god of cinematic structure.
Nobody's infallible.
It explicitly mentions his other films from the exact same era.
Yeah.
Look at the text. Battling Butler, made in the same year, 1926.
Yeah.
And College, made in 1927. What does the text say about them?
I know what it says.
It says they are far from perfect in dramatic construction. So if the guy making the films is routinely churning out structurally flawed movies, maybe the one that magically works is just the one where the chaotic elements accidentally lined up.
Spot on about the other films. Yes, Battling Butler and College have massive structural issues.
Exactly.
I completely concede that point based on the text, but that actually proves my argument.
How on earth does that prove your argument?
The fact that he struggled with structure in other films highlights how extraordinary an achievement the general is. In this film, the construction is at the absolute peak of perfection.
I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall.
The gags aren't just random, disconnected jokes. They are strictly integrated into the background action. Look at the exact phrasing in the text. The gags are subtly incorporated in the background of the screen
Oh,
action.
very subtle. A train exploding.
It is a unified, singular whole.
A unified whole built on the premise of a flying sword and a conveniently placed bicycle.
Built on the premise of a man who absolutely does not tolerate delay. The text says despair only adds one evil to another, and the down-to-earth Johnny Gray does not tolerate delay.
Very poetic.
That is the philosophical core of the entire movie. You don't sit around and mope. You grab the nearest bicycle and you keep pedaling.
Oh, here we go. The philosophical core.
Yes, because the source text concludes that the true greatness of this film isn't the gags.
Thank goodness.
It isn't the real steam engine exploding on the bridge. It isn't the hand trolley. The ultimate greatness is achieved by Buster Keaton himself.
Oh,
By his, and I quote, seemingly motionless face and expressive body. The text literally calls the film a weightier, near philosophical treatise on the human condition.
a philosophical treatise. It's a bloke falling off a train.
It is an inspired affirmation of just actions and intelligence. I fully, entirely embrace this interpretation.
You would.
Think about that motionless face, the great stone face. Amidst all this absolute chaos, the smoke, the fire, the exploding bridges, the massive armies, the hurtling machinery, his face never changes.
He just stares.
He remains entirely beautifully stoic. That is the ultimate representation of the human condition in the industrial age.
That is.
We are lonely, we make massive mistakes, we suffer terrible setbacks, just as the text points out, but we must remain entirely resolute in the pursuit of what we love. It is absolute, profound brilliance.
I am literally laughing at you right now. You are mental. You are absolutely mental.
How can you not see it?
You are reading Shakespeare into a Sunday comic strip, mate. A philosophical treatise on the human condition. That is the most pretentious, overblown sentence I have ever heard in my life.
It's right there in the book.
I'll tell you why he had a motionless face. Because he was an arrogant git who realized that refusing to smile on camera made him stand out from Chaplin.
That is so deeply cynical.
It became his brand. It wasn't a profound reflection on the loneliness of the industrial worker. It was a marketing gimmick.
You are completely ignoring the kinetic energy of his expressive body. The contrast between the static, unmoving face and the desperate, frantic physical action of his limbs.
He was good at falling over.
It is a visual representation of internal panic and external resolve.
I'm not ignoring his body. I'm just saying academics and lazy enthusiasts like yourself are reading way too much into a guy who had a very good stunt double, a massive budget to burn on dropping trains into rivers, and a lucky streak with his scriptwriters.
He was a visionary.
He's not Plato, mate. He's a clown with a train.
He is a genius who captured the essence of a historical period impeccably. The credible behavior of the protagonists amidst the absolute madness.
The credible behavior of fighting an entire army by yourself and winning because a sword flew out of a scabbard. Listen to yourself.
That is just part of
The tension in this film isn't dramatic tension. It's the tension of wondering if they're going to accidentally kill themselves on set because they didn't have health and safety regulations in 1926.
That is the magic of 1920s cinema. The physical reality of it.
That is a workplace hazard, not a philosophy.
Right, stop. We are clearly not going to agree on this.
We certainly are not.
You are entirely entrenched in your cynicism, and I'm not going to let you drag this masterpiece through the mud any longer.
I'm not dragging it through the mud. I'm just looking at it clearly without the rose-tinted glasses of film school.
We're stopping. Look, to you listening to this right now, you can hear the divide here.
It's a massive divide.
I think it is the absolute pinnacle of early cinematic genius, a perfectly constructed machine of a film. My colleague here thinks it's a historically dodgy fluke, propped up by a good budget and an arrogant refusal to smile.
Because it is a fluke.
But don't take our word for it. Don't be a lazy enthusiast who just listens to us bicker.
Definitely don't do that.
We've laid out the mechanics of the arguments, but the only way to actually understand the historical grit we talked about, the complex political context we debated, and to see the full credits and the deep analysis for yourself is to go to the source.
Read the book.
Get the book, Cinema, the Magic Vehicle, read Journey 1, 1913 to 1950. Read it, look at the evidence, understand the mechanics of the era, and you decide who is right. I guarantee you'll see the genius.
Or you'll see the shambles.
Whatever.
But I'll leave you with this one final, rather provocative thought to mull over.
Make it quick.
If early 1920s cinema, which was essentially people messing around in the smog, without reliable electricity, relying on blind chance and flying swords, could accidentally invent the visual language of modern blockbusters.
It wasn't an accident.
What heavily criticized, utterly lowbrow entertainment of today are the academics of the year 2126 going to be calling a near philosophical treatise.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Are they going to be writing PhD dissertations on chaotic internet prank videos? Are they going to call a 12-hour screaming video game stream a masterpiece of structural symmetry?
That is completely different.
Because if Buster Keaton falling off a train is high art, then heaven help us, the bar is completely...
That is a completely unfair comparison. A video game stream doesn't have the kinetic rhythm of a steam engine.
It's the exact same chaotic energy. It's just people desperately trying to keep your attention in the dark by doing something loud.
You are absolutely hopeless. Get the book, everyone. We are done here.
Bloody delusional, that's what you are.